Good day, and welcome to Shepherd's Way. I'm Robert O'Neill, pastor of Shepherd's Way Christian Church, where it is our heart to lead and care for people God's way. We hope you enjoyed the message today, and we thank you for joining us.
Amen. Listen, if you don't mind, and if it's your custom, if you would stand with me very quickly and go with me to Mark's Gospel, chapter 22. I'm sorry, and y'all kept right on looking down, chapter 2. Mark don't even have 22 chapters. I was waiting for somebody to catch that. Yeah, Mark chapter 2. Amen. Chapter 2. And I want you to look with me in verse 22. It sounded good. I'll be reading this from the New Living Translation. It just simply says, no one ever puts new wine into old wineskins, because the wine would burst the wineskins, and the wine and the skins would both be lost. New wine calls for new wineskins. Amen. Amen. Would you grab your neighbor by the hand and look him in the eye for me, if you don't mind? Come on, just grab him by the hand and look him in the eye. Come on. If they won't look you in the eye, they've been talking about you. Come on, look them in the eye. And just tell them, neighbor, oh neighbor, please don't get stuck in the box. Come on, look at your other neighbor and tell that neighbor, please don't get stuck in the box. Amen. You have your seats in the presence of the Lord. Please. It's my first time here, my first time seeing you all. I literally really don't know anything about you, so to speak. And this is not even what I plan to preach this morning. I've been working ever since the invitation on something else altogether different. And when I walked in here this morning and I felt your warm smiles and your handshakes, and the brother was trying to tell me, come on around here on the side and get in, and you all just so friendly. And you know, I feel something here special. And so the Lord pressed upon me, even coming down 64. It was verified and confirmed to tell you this morning, please don't get stuck in the box. You're not in the box. And I'm challenging you, warning you, and telling you, don't get stuck excuse me, in the box. Yesterday, 3 of our 6 grandkids were at the house. I'm fine, this old sinus cuts up sometimes. All that yellow stuff on your car, that's what it is. And they were at the house, and I was relaxing, enjoying myself in my bedroom, watching channel surfing. And that middle girl, she's a mess, Kari. She comes into the bedroom and she said, Granddaddy. And I said, yeah, baby. She said, are you going to come out here and watch TV with us? And my inner person was saying no. And I said, especially after I asked her what they were watching. That's right. And she said, we're watching cartoons. And see, I'm a product of the 60s, and I'm a Bugs Bunny Roadrunner kind of fella. You know, I like Yosemite Sam and Foghorn Leghorn. And see, she looking at me like I don't even know what he talking about. Yeah. And I said, so baby, what are y'all watching? And she said, we're watching Doc McStuffins. I said, Doc McStuffins? I said, who is that? So I sit down and get me a little peach tea and my little bag of Cheetos, get your fingers all orange and everything. So I'm sitting there between them and everything, and I start watching Doc McStuffins. And so I'm like, this really looks like a really boring cartoon. For those of you that don't know who Doc McStuffins is, she's a little 6-year-old girl. And in her world, she's a doctor. And she's got these stuffed animals and toys and dolls that she cares for. And when she reaches in her doctor bag and puts her stethoscope around her neck, all her dolls and toys and her little stuffed animals come to life, and she begins to care for them. Well, I was watching this episode with them, and the tension was when she put her stethoscope on and all the toys came to life, Mr. Jack in the Box had an emergency. Right. So she said, what's wrong? And he said, I need help. It's Jack Jr. And she said, what's wrong with Jack Jr.? And he said, well, something is really wrong because Jack Jr. is not popping like he ought to be. That's right. That's good. Yeah. And so she said, well, what's wrong? She said, well, his box looks really good. The handle turns on the side like it's supposed to. Everything is turning properly. The music sounds really good. But for some strange and unknown reason, Jack Jr. is stuck in the box. Lord have mercy, I thought I would have got more help right there. So she says, this is really serious. And we got to find out why Jack Jr. is stuck. Because if we don't determine why he's stuck in the box, he's never gonna pop like he ought to. I came in here this morning, Dr. O'Neill, with a simple word to tell you in Shepherd's Way, please don't get stuck in the box. Because if you get stuck in the box, you will never pop like you're supposed to. You will never live out your purpose. You will never enjoy the potential that God has provided for you, and you will always be in a place of mediocrity. You'll be normal. You'll get satisfied with average. You will settle for things that are beneath your privilege because of a box that you are stuck in. That's right. So the text before us this morning is really to teach us a couple of things about how to avoid being stuck in the box. Chapter 2, Mark's Gospel, is really famous to the saints. First of all, because this is the narrative, the same place where you find where Jesus is in a house. He's preaching. The house is packed. And there's not even any room at the door. Yes, and these 4 men show up with a paralyzed man. Yes, they try to get him inside the house to Jesus, but they cannot. So they go on top of the roof, and they, without anybody's permission, they tear the roof off the sucker in their Parliament Funkadelic voice, and they tear the roof off the house and lower the man down to Jesus, and Jesus tells him, my son, thy sins are forgiven, rise up and walk. And then there's a dialogue with the Pharisees and all of this. But here it is. Lord showed this to me last night and confirmed it coming down the highway. And this is all I want to tell you, because y'all get enough good preaching every Sunday. So I haven't come to take you anywhere you haven't already been. I just want to drop a couple of little things here on you. If you're going to avoid getting stuck in a box, the first thing you're going to have to realize is you're going to have to refuse to be average and remain aggressive in your approach. Let me say that again. You're going to have to refuse to be average and be aggressive in your approach. Notice, if you will, this kind of messed me up, because I'm just a little old country boy. Ain't nothing deep about me. I grew up on a dead-end road. They called it neck down there. All of us down there, just as country as pump water. A matter of fact, at the end of the road, there's a ferry down there. If you want to get to the other side, you got to get on this 2-car ferry and ride to the other side. They ain't even nothing over there when you get over there. So we just turn around and go back the other way anyway. Watch this. In order to avoid getting stuck in the box, refuse to be average and remain aggressive in your approach. And this is what messed me up, Dr. O'Neill. Jesus is in a house preaching, and the house is packed. And when these men tore the roof off, lowered this paralyzed man down to Jesus, I had never seen this before. He says, what the text says, when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, arise and walk, your sins are forgiven. Then the next thing says that the Pharisees began to criticize Jesus and want to know where he got the authority from to do this. Now this is what messed me up. Jesus is preaching in a house at the same time when they ought to be having services in the synagogue. But obviously Jesus is doing something in the house that's not average and mundane and regular, and ain't nothing happening obviously at the synagogue, because if it was, the Pharisees would have been there. But Jesus was so powerful and dynamic, and it could have been several reasons. One of the reasons why maybe wasn't nothing popping at the synagogue was because, according to the Jewish law in the context, you had to have at least 10 men present for it to be an official worship service. Maybe perhaps the men were over there with Jesus. We know there was at least 5 over there. One was paralyzed and the other 4 were carrying the man to Jesus. And there may perhaps even been more than that, because when you read the text very carefully, it says that they brought a man to Jesus. Watch this. Carried by 4. Which means that it was probably they was more than 4, but maybe perhaps it was only 4 that was equipped to carry the man.
That's right.
Got what I'm saying? So you might have had a lot of brothers over there on the way to Jesus' service. His service was at 10:30. And over there at the synagogue, maybe they were trying to catch a little bit of Jesus service at 10:30 and then make it on back over to First Baptist Jerusalem by 11:30. But the point is this: Jesus is actively and aggressively doing something that nobody else in his context is doing. That's the point, right? That's it. Jesus is doing ministry in the house. Everybody else needs a formal worship experience at the synagogue. And if he wasn't doing nothing aggressive and interesting, then they would have been where they were instead of trying to take care of the business that was going on in this house in Capernaum.
That's right.
So if you're going to avoid getting stuck in the box, keep right on refusing to be average and stay aggressive in your approach. Now let me be transparent and let me be honest. When I walked through the door, the first impression that I had of this house of worship is that it reeks of excellence. And it reeks of a leader and a spirit of the leader and a spirit of the followers who want to be on another and a different level. There are not many places where you could show up this morning when you're going to see technology, when you're going to have good sound, and where you're going to have beautiful singers, wonderful musicians, all of that, and no drama attached to it. You can feel and sense drama in places when you walk in the door. I didn't feel that. I felt love. I felt appreciation. Listen, and that's not average. That is not the norm. Refuse to be average. Whatever you're doing, Shepherd's Way, keep on doing. Touch your neighbor and say, we got to keep doing it, child. But then there's something else I see in this chapter. Not only must you refuse to be average and remain aggressive in your approach in order to avoid being stuck in the box, you have to have an appetite for outsiders, even if it offends other people.
That's right.
You have to have an appetite for outsiders, even if you offend other people. Hope y'all still got your Bibles open. If you're reading this, Jesus, after this incident with the Pharisees, he calls Matthew or Levi. That, you know, his name is Matthew, but in the hood they just call him Levi. You know, kind of like Paul and Silas. You know, his name was Sylvanus, but in the hood they just called him old Silas. What's up, bro? Yeah. Here's Levi. And then Jesus finds it not robbery to go and sit down and eat and fellowship with who other people deem sinners, because they are tax collectors. You know, the culture deems them to be a certain thing. But Jesus doesn't have a problem with it.
Say that.
And his following is growing, not because he's grooming what's already attached to him, but he is with intentionality targeting a whole community of outcasts and outsiders, even people that are offending his followers, or at least the traditional crowd. In 2008, my pastor, Dr. Randy Roy, commissioned and released my wife and I to start a church from scratch. Initially, his offer was, because the membership there was almost 3,500 at Philippi. Dr. Roy said, I want y'all, you and Tina, to start this church. And I'm going to give you 50 members, 10 ministers, and 10 deacons to start the church. And I graciously declined the offer. Because what was about to happen was all of the routine, all of the ritual, and all of the rules were getting ready to come inside a new fledgling church. And we didn't want to start off in the box, because if we ever got in the box and got stuck, the ministry would never pop like it was supposed to. So here we are, Doc. We sitting down one night watching the news, and they're live. Here's a police chase on the news, and they are chasing some drug dealers. It's a man, his girlfriend, and the girlfriend's mother. And you can see them right on TV. Red Greenville, they throwing drugs out the window of the car. I mean, I don't know how they were gonna pick a jury, you know. Everybody, I mean, they throwing bags of heroin and crack right out of the window. So my wife sits up in the bed with her crazy self. She crazy. And you know what she said? She said, "Wow, look at that, Cornell." I said, "What?" She said, "There go our members right there." Now, we didn't know them we had never seen them before in our life.
Oh my goodness.
The next day, she went to get her hair done, and she says to her hairstylist, she said, "Girl, did you see them crazy people throwing drugs out the car last night on the news?" And her hairdresser said, "Yeah." Said the girl that was in the car, she one of the baddest stylists in 4 states. He said, "What?" She was like, "Yeah." And her mom, all of them locked up, and her mom needs her medicine, you know, whatever. And Tina said, "Well, just do something, anything to it, I gotta go." And she gets out of the chair and goes straight to the county jail and asks for this lady. She gets down there, she said, "I know you don't know me, I'm Pastor Tina Watson from the Friendship Church. And I know your accounts have been frozen and you need your medicine. How much is it?" And so Tina goes, gets the medicine, brings it back, and puts money in everybody's account. The woman, her daughter, and her son-in-law to be. And they post their bond, get out of jail, and 2 weeks later, they come in church. They about 40 deep. They whole family, right? And then and all of them join. And then and they still pending trial. I mean, guilty. Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. Everybody know who they are, right? And but what we didn't know was that both of them are connected to the Bloods. So about 25 or 30 of the Bloods start showing up. Got security on lock now, ain't no problem, right? And now this might not be holy enough for some of y'all. That's real, you know. Yeah. When Tina would get up and say stuff like, "We want to take the kids to King's Dominion, and we don't want them to have to pay for nothing. We want to charter a bus or 2, and we want food and we want everything, and we don't want them to pay for nothing. And if you just feel led, sow a seed." The drug dealers was coming up, Doc, dropping, you know, like 1,500 in a club, you know. And because it's a startup ministry, we didn't even have officers yet. So we in the back counting the money, getting a contact, smell like weed and Newport. You know what I'm saying? But when you say you want to do something for the kids, it might be $6-7 grand in the offering.
Right.
In a place not much larger than this. I told Pastor it reminds me so much of our start there, right?
Come on.
All right. Now watch this. Watch this. We maintained an appetite for people that for outsiders, even if it was offensive to other people. Because they gonna come in, you know, we had, and we tried to feed people, you know, almost every Sunday, right? And so you just had people that were just showing up to eat. Well, who cares?
Right.
That's still ministry. They're not coming initially for the music or for the word or anything like that, but when they get loved on, week after week, and understand, I don't care if your t-shirt is nasty and your shorts look kind of funky. Come on in. Have a seat. I don't care if you fix a plate to take with you, you know, so that you can eat it under the bridge later on because you homeless. You got what I'm saying? And when you are aggressive in your approach, and when you are after those outsiders, you'll see growth. Now it'll take time to grow them from the inside out. That's a process, and everybody just has to understand. You have to trust that process. You know, my crazy wife, because we had plenty of people that was addicted to, especially the weed and alcohol and crack, right? Ex-cons were coming in. They were converting from Islam to Christianity and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, had this real gifted guy on the organ. He smelled like weed every Sunday when he walked in. Shake your hand, you get close to his dread, you like, all you smell is weed. Might have a little something left over from the night before where he been drinking. But when he sit down on that A100 organ, you know what I'm saying, he trying to go in himself, right?
That's right.
So my wife would do crazy stuff like this. She'd be like, we just want to celebrate everybody who got some clean time this week. So like, if you don't mind being vulnerable and open, because you know you're not in a context where we're gonna judge you, you know, because we're gonna embrace you even though you're being rejected by other people. So you know, this one dude stood up. He was like, Pastor Tina, he was like, you know, I usually be drinking. Usually I drink me a 6-pack. You know, I have to get off of work, but this week, every day when I got off, you know, I just been drinking 3. See, y'all got the kind of spirit, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Somebody else be like, well, you know, I usually do, you know, two 20-piece bags of weed a week, but I only smoke the dime bag all week long. And we would have a party. We would tell them to bring their families, and we would cook. Had collard green. I was hungry. I was ready to eat. They had some wonderful cooks. You got what I'm saying? But it created a beautiful fellowship. That's all Jesus is doing in the text. He's trying to show his disciples, hey man, we've been liberated from, and we're trying to transition out of tradition. So don't allow them to trick you back in it and trap you with it.
Well, that's right.
Don't get stuck in the box.
That's right. That's right.
Now here's my final thing. It comes back to the scripture that I read, and this kind of long narrative. I'm not going to deal with all that, but y'all have heard it. That's why I read it. It's kind of familiar to you. Jesus breaking it down to him. And I usually would tell you to start me out about F, but I ain't gonna worry about that today. I ain't gonna holler today. I'm just gonna tell you. Now, Dr. Cubs is my mentor now. You know, Cubs gonna holler for you. Y'all wait till November when he come through here. Amen. Jesus says, he says, no one ever puts new wine into old wineskins, because the wine would burst the wineskins, and the wine and the skins would both be lost. New wine causes for new wineskins. Now notice, he says this after he's asked about why he's not fasting and his disciples are not fasting. That's when the conversation gets sparked.